All right, now just when you thought the debate over illegal immigration couldn't get any hotter, the California Supreme Court has ruled that illegal immigrants are entitled to the same tuition breaks as in-state high school students when it comes to attending public colleges and universities. Students who attend at least 3 years of high school and graduate are eligible for in-state tuition at public schools, while out-of-state students who are United States citizens are not eligible. Illegal immigrants still are not eligible for state or federal financial aid. Okay, so is this a fair ruling for students who have lived here for a long time and worked hard, or is it an outrageous advantage to illegal immigrants who are here illegally? All right, we got Chris Kobach. He's brought this suit on behalf of a group of students. He was also elected earlier this month to serve as the Secretary of State of Kansas as one of the chief architects of the controversial Arizona law targeted at illegal immigrants. Brent Wilkes is the National Executive Director of the League of United Latin American Citizens, or LULAC, if I've got that right. All right, now, Chris, I understand that you're not happy with this ruling, and my guess is you're going to go ahead and appeal. Do I have that right?
Yes, we will be seeking review in the United States Supreme Court. The history of this is a very interesting one. Congress in 1996 passed a law that says no state can give in-state tuition to illegal aliens unless the state wants to give in-state tuition rates to every U.S. citizen, regardless of where they come from. And when Congress passed that law, they were actually looking at California and trying to prevent that from spreading to other states, because a number of California universities had already started doing this. And so we come to this position 14 years later, where the California Supreme Court has misinterpreted that federal statute and says, oh, California could go ahead and do this as long as they don't use the word residence in their statute. And so we have this bizarre ruling yesterday where the California Supreme Court basically created a loophole so large in the federal statute that it swallows the entire statute. So we will be appealing, and if the Supreme Court of the United States takes the case, I'm confident that they will overturn the decision.
Brent, I got to be honest, Chris sounds like he's got a really good case. Why is that wrong?
Well, it's wrong because these students have worked hard in California. They've lived there for all their lives. They've studied hard. They've earned the right to go to college. And just like every student in their class, they should have the right to in-state tuition, just like all those U.S. citizen and legal resident students that are studying with them. Their parents may have done something wrong, but we don't blame children for what their parents have done. For example, people who are convicted of murder in California, their kids can still get in-state tuition. So why shouldn't these hardworking immigrants who are contributing to our economy, which are picking the food that we eat and building the houses that we live in, and contributing to our tax base, why shouldn't they benefit from the opportunity to go to college just like all of the residents in California have?
Chris, these kids have worked really hard. I'm sure you acknowledge that. And, you know, Brent has an interesting point. I mean, come on, murderers' kids get to go. Why can't these kids go?
Well, I think he sets up a false, sort of a false dichotomy here, that you either have to punish the kids for the sins of their parents or reward them. Right now, California is rewarding these students. They're adults now. They're after the age of 18 for the sins, the illegal acts of their parents. Let's not reward them. Maybe let's not punish them, but let's certainly treat them like we treat other people from out of the country. Cenk, I know your family were legal immigrants, came to this country. If you had gone to a California university under current law, under this statute, you would not get in-state tuition. This statute is bizarre. It actually excludes anyone here on a legal student visa. That person has to pay out-of-state tuition 3 or 4 times as much. Only if you are breaking federal law under this statute do you get in-state tuition. I would say that's a really perverse incentive. We want to reward people who come here to this country, follow our laws, and do the right thing. We don't want to be rewarding people who are breaking our laws, and that's why this California statute is so bizarre. One other point I would make, the point about compassion and you know, giving these kids a chance, I understand that, but remember, this has a price. Education is not free, and right now California taxpayers are spending about $208 million every year subsidizing the tuition for illegal aliens. Now that's from a state that can't balance its budget, and from a state that's asking the rest of us in America to help pay their debt. Chris, you know, there isn't the money to do this right now.
Let me follow with you. Did you say that if I'm a legal alien in California, I cannot get this tuition break?
That's correct. If you're a legal alien on a temporary visa, like any student visa, or you're a dependent, maybe your parent came here on a work visa,
and
you cannot
I'm in
get the tuition
California,
break.
and I've lived in California for all that time.
Yeah,
okay.
And you've lived in California all that time.
Brent, that seems to be a knockout punch, man. I got to be honest with you. Well, how do you justify that?
He's distorting this again. If you're a legal immigrant in California, you do get in-state tuition. If you're a citizen in California,
that's a green card. That's a green card holder gets in-state tuition. But the question here was: is a non-immigrant, a temporary visa, does not get in-state tuition?
I let you speak. Let me speak. First of all, illegal immigrants, they can get in-state tuition. They are on green cards, yes. Citizens, they can get in-state tuition. The only students that we're talking about right here and trying to block their dream, this is what we're talking about, kicking these kids out of school, not allowing them to go to college, even though they've gone through school, they've done well, they've worked hard, they've got the grades, they've got accepted into these elite schools in California, and all we need to do is give them an opportunity, the same opportunity that all the other students in that class with them get. And Chris Kobach wants to block their dreams. And you know, I think if one person blocked a dream, I think that'd be awful. But can you imagine blocking tens of thousands of kids' dreams? I can't believe that Chris Kobach can live with himself. I mean, shame on him for even attempting to try to strike this law down. No, but that's not fair, Brent. Okay, look, first of all, I'm going to take a point away from Chris here. Because, if you have a green card, and you still get this tuition break, that's what we're talking about. Because if they're on a temporary visa, they wouldn't be staying in California for 3 years anyway, so they wouldn't meet the requirements.
Green card holders already got the tuition break, and they get in-state tuition just about in virtually every state in the country, long before this California law was passed. So that's a totally separate category. I'm talking about.
Brent is right on that one.
But my point, no, he's not, because my point was that people who get a lawful student visa come to America to study and do it the right way. Maybe the parent got a work visa and then they want to stay and study. Those people pay out-of-state tuition, even if they've been in the country for 10 years on a variety of temporary visas. They pay out-of-state tuition.
But overall, I'm with Chris here.
No, it happens all the time. There are thousands of them in California paying out-of-state tuition right now.
Brent, let's go to the core of the question here. Come on now, these people are here illegally. I mean, so what? I mean, does that have any meaning at all? And don't get me wrong, I'm not against them. I think that they're coming here, their parents came here for a better life. I love their dream. I love that they work hard. But doesn't it mean something to be here illegally? To give them a break on tuition? I don't know. I can't get beyond that.
They are out of status. We should do something to try to correct that. I agree. But to punish their kids, they didn't cross the border on their own. Their parents brought them in. They've been working hard all their lives. Some of them didn't even know that they were undocumented. And they have dreams just like every other child in California. They should have that chance. Look, we're always talking about states having the right to determine their own policies. In this case, the legislature of California, the governor signed it. They passed a law that said these children should have the opportunity to go to college and get in-state tuition. It's the U.S. Congress that tried to pass a law to prevent that, and they didn't do it right because they said they only applied to people who had laws that said it had to be tied to residency in the state. California's got a different system. It's based on the number of years that you're in their high schools, and so that's what they're focused on. The Supreme Court of California has found that this law has been upheld. Why not let these folks just go to college, for God's sakes, and get a college education instead of trying to kick them out? I mean, what kind of policy is that? What kind of country would we be if that's our policy, to kick kids out of college?
Chris, let me ask you a follow-up question on that. Let me ask you a follow-up, because, you know, a lot of states do this. Texas does it, New York does it. So even if we disagree about it, isn't it a states' rights issue which conservatives should, agree with? Hey, if California wants to do it, they do it.
I will answer that question, but first let me respond to something that was said a minute ago. Look, no one is kicking these students out. They are still entitled to go to these schools, even though they're breaking federal law by staying in the country, and they should leave. But no one, by getting rid of this California law, which our lawsuit intended to do, that wouldn't force them out of the school. It would simply say, you stop getting this benefit at taxpayer expense, and we're not going to treat you more favorably than we treat U.S. citizens from Kansas, from New York, from Texas who come to California. They're those U.S. citizens who play by the rules and who are themselves citizens and indeed entitled to certainly a higher level of legal protection than an illegal alien in the United States, they are being treated worse. Now, as far as the states' rights issue, certainly one can make the argument that, well, states should have control over all of this. But when it comes to immigration, the courts of the United States have said very clearly that Congress has what's called plenary authority. Congress has the authority to make all of the rules concerning aliens in the United States. And Congress made the rule back in 1996. California California broke the rule, tried to twist one word in the federal statute, residence, and they used that, and the California Supreme Court went along with it, and what I think is a very poorly written decision that does not follow precedents of the United States Supreme Court. And as a result, the decision has a heavy price tag. It's all about money. It's all about who's going to get a subsidized tuition. And now, California taxpayers whose backs are already being broken by this crushing debt and the spending in Sacramento, they're going to continue to spend over $208 million a year giving this subsidy, this handout to illegal aliens. I think most reasonable people would say, hey, just make them pay out-of-state tuition like the legally present aliens do.
Brent, I have to say, look, that's another good point by Chris. You're not denying them a college education. They can still go to UCLA even, but they'd go to UCLA like I would when I grew up in New Jersey. I pay out-of-state tuition, and so do they, and they're illegal citizens. I mean, that doesn't seem like that bad a deal.
Well, I mean, at LULAC, we work with a lot of students that are low income. They're perhaps doing really well in school, but they don't have the money to go to college. And I think that this is an effective block. I mean, it may not be an absolute block, but it's an effective block. Many of those students that we're talking about would be prevented from going to college because they just couldn't afford it. I mean, the difference between in-state tuition at the UC system and the out-of-state tuition could amount to tens of thousands of dollars over their career. So they're not going to be able to go. That's the bottom line. I mean, we're really talking about whether we allow them to go or not go. And I say, and LULAC says, let's let these kids have a chance. That's all we're asking for. They didn't do anything wrong. They've worked really hard. Why are we such a mean-spirited country that we would try to go around kicking kids out of college and not allowing them to live their potential? If you're talking about taxes, let's go back to that, because
Brent,
first of all, their parents are paying taxes, and so are the kids when they're going to graduate.
I hear you on that. Look, it was a great conversation. Chris Kobach, Brent Wilkes, thank you so much for joining us, guys.
My pleasure.
Thank you.